Row 3 Charcoal Wally, now ridden by Sam Morshead. 4 Desert Orchid Colin Brown. 7 Little Bay Phil Tuck. 8 Milesian Dancer John Hanson. 9 Pearly Man Peter Scudamore. 10 Townley Stone Steve Smith Eccles, and 11 Very Promising Richard Dunwoody.
So can the Dancing Grey Desert Orchid finally break his jinx on left-hand courses? He's won 16 races in all. They've all been on right-hand courses. And of course, his last 3 races have all been over 3 miles. In fact, only once this season has he run over 2 miles. That was at Ascot last December, and it turned out to be one of his best performances.
At the second last, and that's Delight from Desert Orchid renewing his challenge. So is Charcoal Wally, and they've both gone past Annette's Delight now, and it's Desert Orchid on the far side from Charcoal Wally, Annette's Delight. Then comes Our Fun staying on, then Little Bay, who's not finding any more, but Desert Orchid has gone clear at the last, jumps it well. Desert Orchid has a clear lead from the other grey Charcoal Wally, then Annette's Delight, but going to the line. An impressive win for Desert Orchid, with Charcoal Wally staying on to hold second place. It's going to be close for third between Little Bay and Annette's Delight.
Desert Orchid, that's been the horse of the season so far, and there are thousands of people around the paddock inevitably watching him, and of course amongst the people in the paddock is the wonderful lady after whom this race is named, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, braving the elements here. We've already had sleet and hail and quite a strong wind, in the company of the chairman of the racecourse, Captain Miles Gosling, and enjoying the sight of these 8 marvellous horses. Her Majesty appraising also the opposition, headed by Very Promising. Another horse who's been racing over 3 miles recently, but of course he was a 2-mile horse. He was placed in the Champion Hurdle, and he proved that he can win over this course in the Mackerson Go Cup last November.
Very Promising going very strongly at the moment. Parfree's moved into third. Cathy's Lad is 4. Little Bay is 5. Golden Friend is 6. Very Promising landed in the lead there. Very Promising from Our Fun. Half Free is still making progress in behind the leader. Cathy's Lad is 4. And Little Bay is delivering his challenge now as they race towards the final fence in the 27th running of the Mackerson Gold Cup. And Very Promising is in the lead from Half Free, trying to establish chasing history. Over on the far side, Very Promising. On the near side, Half Free. It's Very Promising by a length from Half Free. The faller there was Our Fun. Racing into the closing stages. Half Free on the near side, beginning to get up. Very Promising on the far side. Very Promising fighting back, and he's going to win it as they come to the line. Very Promising has won it. Half Free is second. Cathy's Lad is just going to be third.
Very Promising, there he is, and he and Richard Dunwoody made a marvellous team there in that Mackerson Gold Cup, and of course ironically beating Half Free, ridden by Peter Scudamore, Very Promising's previous jockey. But the horse who's really surged to the fore this season, and there he is with his distinctive face, is Pearly Man. A top 2-miler, and he clicked straight away with Peter Scudamore at Newbury last month.
Coming down now to the second last fence, Townley Stone going to land in the lead from Pearly Man, who jumps it second. Little Bay third. Coming down now to the final fence, Pearly Man in the centre from Townley Stone on the near side. Charcoal Wally on the far side, then Little Bay at the final fence now. Pearly Man and Townley Stone land together, then Little Bay in third, racing into the closing stages and quickening well is Pearly Man from Townley Stone, with Little Bay finishing fast as they race up towards the line though. It's Pearly Man from Townley Stone and Little Bay, and as they come to the line, Pearly Man is the winner. Townley Stone is second, and third is Little Bay, and fourth Charcoal Wally.
Well, he certainly should beat Townley Stone and Little Bay on that form, though you never know with Little Bay. One man who should know about this race, Bill Smith. He won it twice on Royal Relief. Bill, how do you see it?
Well, I think it's not just a 2-horse race. I think, like the Champion Chase always is, it'll be a very competitive race, and you do need a horse who stays very well, of which the main contenders do. Desert Orchid, there's no rules to him about not winning a left-handed track. He's broken the rules about him not going in the soft. He's broken the rules about him not staying 3 miles. He might go and win over a left-handed track now, but he's done everything that's been asked of him this year. It'll be a great training field if he does come back to 2 miles today, though, from 3 miles. And I suppose Very Promising, he's made for it. He's a dour 2.5-mile horse, but has the toe for 2 miles. I think he'll be very close to him.
So, your final choice?
I'm going to go along with Desert Orchid. Just because he's broken all the other horses, he might as well win the day.
Well, I'm a Pearly Man. I wonder what Richard Pittman is.
Yes, Desert Orchid, what an amazing horse, and he's simply bouncing around the parade ring here. He knows what he's here for, and he loves his racing. As Julian said, he's just got this hoodoo to break of never having won on a left-handed course. In fact, some of his less admirable races have been here at Cheltenham, but this is a racehorse, and the public have taken this fellow to their hearts, you know, not just because he's grey, but because he's bold, he loves his racing, he pricks his ears, he's got them pricked now. Look at him looking around at everything and everyone. He simply loves it. He's a 2-to-1 shot at the moment. Colin Brown rides him for David Ellsworth, and what a marvellous training feat it will be if this horse reverts to 2 miles and gets over the left-handed hoodoo to win this race. It's a race that so many people want to win because, of course, they admire the person who the race is named after, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, who is here in the parade ring. And this horse, 2-to-1, let's see if there's any money for any of the other horses.
Well, Pearly Man is the favourite, 7-4. Desert Orchid, second favourite, 2-to-1. Very promising, 7-2. Townley Stone, 10-to-1. Little Bay, 16-to-1. Charcoal Wally is 33-to-1. And we have a 100-to-1 shot in Captain Dawn, and 500-to-1 is Malaysian Dancer.
Desert Orchid favourite with a great lot of papers this morning, but deposed thereby Pearly Man. This is a terrific horse. He's only just started to stay the 3 miles this year, and a lot of people thought they'd go for the Gold Cup, but David Ellsworth decided no, and the owner was adamant too that this was the right race to go for. And just news from the last race, Stuart Shilston's got lacerations to his face, has decided not to ride for the rest of the day, but he's not too bad. Any of you who are near and dear to him, you'll know that he's okay. Townley Stone there, and trainer Nick Henderson, who has already got the Champion Hurdle in the bag. Townley Stone, who's had all sorts of training problems. He was a good horse when John Webber brought him out. He went to France, where he won his only race for Martin Blackshaw, came back, further training problems, and now he's back on course. He didn't stay 3 miles when he was tried at Haydock Park, but he is a decent horse, although he seems to be well held by Pearly Man. Though if you watch with us regularly, you'll know that form gets turned upside down. One day to the next, you cannot guarantee that the result is going to be the same. Good horse this, very exciting jumper, and I don't think he's out of it. It's a terrific race in prospect. Number 9, this is Pearly Man, big white face, he's by Mandamus, and certainly came good at Newbury. He won first time out at Cheltenham this season, in between a couple of hiccupy races. His jumping wasn't fluent. He unshipped Paul Barton up at Wetherby. He's 7-4 favourite. Peter Scudamore took the ride as Paul was going to retire, and they wanted whoever rode him here to get to know him at Newbury. Well, Peter certainly didn't have any trouble getting to know him because he absolutely trotted up. But he's got to jump well in order to stay in contention. This is a terrific Champion 2-mile chase, and Pearly Man certainly is up to challenging the grey, and also very promising. This fellow trained by John Edwards. John, who's had a succession of good horses over the years. Not a big string, but manages to get some decent bred horses and win with them. And there is Captain Dawn. Well, he won 4 races in a row earlier in the season. 3 times at Fontwell and once on this course. That was quite good form then. He's been placed in all of his 5 races since that sequence. But I'm afraid he needs good ground or better, and I think he'd want it fairly firm to beat these. He seems to have a bit much on his plate, I'm afraid, here. Runs for Josh Gifford, and one of the game's best owners, Peter Hopkins, one of the most enthusiastic men. Hasn't had a great season, apart from this fellow winning 4 races, but hasn't dampened his enthusiasm at all. Captain Dawn. The other grey, Charcoal Wally there, number 3. Charcoal now ridden by Sam Morshead. He was, in fact, to have been ridden by Richard Lindley, who, of course, dislocated his collarbone when winning on Gala's Image yesterday. Richard, who's not here, he's watching at home, and Richard, of course, our sympathy goes out to you, but we're all glad that you powered home yesterday. 50-1, Charcoal Wally, and that price could look generous if this ground was a little drier. He must have it fast, and he is a good horse, but he hasn't had the ground in his favour this season. Sam Morshead replaces Graham McCourt. So just a reminder of the huge crowds that come here. There were a lot of people here yesterday. There are a lot more here today. And reports from people who've come from Cheshire tell me that the motorway was bunged up with snow up in that county. Let's hope it doesn't creep down here to Cheltenham. So, leading them out, Captain Dawn, 11-year-old. They're all carrying 12 stone. This is a true championship race. No favours or allowances in this one. Then Colin Brown on the grey, Desert Orchid. Then Little Bay, Phil Tuck in the maroon colours. Then after him we've got Milesian Dancer, 500 to 1 in the last show, and I think that might even not represent his chance. He literally does have very little chance. Peter Scudamore, and then the light colours there of Steve Smith-Eccles. Steve, that big winner in the bag already. Nice position to be in. And they're very promising in the blue colours. Richard Dunwoody, this horse who was tried over a distance, would have had, I think, a good squeak in the Gold Cup if he'd run in it, but they've decided to go for this race. He was second in it last year, only 3 lengths behind Buckhouse in what was a memorable race. I think, though, this has got just a little bit more ingredient than 12 months ago. Very promising in the colours of Paul Green, who shares a lot of his horses with his long-time friend and partner, Trevor Painting, who's here today. In fact, the box they're looking from is right next to this camera, and I wonder how they're feeling now. So the parade here for the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's been won by some good horses. Buckhouse last year, Badsworth Boy 3 times before that, another Dickinson horse, Rath Gorman in 82, and then Drumgore for Ireland in 81. But here's Captain Dawn from the Josh Gifford stable, 100 to 1 at the moment. Richard Rowe in the saddle. The 2 greys led there by Charcoal Wally from Ron Hodges' stable. As I just said, a good horse this, but could want it even drier, even faster. He's ended up on the floor a couple of times this season when banging contention, but I'm sure it is the ground that has everything to do with this horse's success or failure. After him, Desert Orchid, very proud, on his toes, as he always is, 9 to 4 at the moment, only beaten once this season. And the great thing about this horse is that although he's explosive, he's excitable, he's a hard-pulling horse, David Ellsworth has managed to train him to perfection. Just look at that horse. He does everything when he runs, he gives his all, and yet here he is bouncing, ready for the fray again. You can easily see why people love him. Full of beans, full of life. And there's Little Bay, what an amazing character. Although he's 12 now, it doesn't mean that he's any slower, although he pulled up on his last run. He's put up some good performances this year. 20 to 1 shot at the moment. Phil Tuck in the saddle, got an attack of asthma yesterday, and he'll need all his breath to ride this fella because he's a wily old devil. All sorts of jockeys have ridden him, and he's proved to be the master of most of them. John Joe Neal's performed miracles on him at times. John Frankham has as well. Here's number 8, Milesian Dancer, trained by Donald Fairgrieve, and Milesian Dancer, ridden by John Hanson, 500 to 1 shot, literally has no chance. I suppose in an 8-runner race, that's a silly thing to say, but I can't make a case for him at all. But they're probably here for the beer. They're here to enjoy themselves, and let's hope they have a crack at the whip. And Pearly Man, fine big horse this, 7 to 4 favourite. That's a surprise. I think most people thought Desert Orchid would go off favourite. Peter Scudamore in the saddle. So as he turns to go down there, trained by John Edwards, and here is number 10, Townley Stone, hacking down very, very quietly. Beautiful style there. Steve Smith-Eccles, 11 to 1 shot at the moment. Has a little bit of ground to make up from Newbury with Pearly Man, but this is a very different track to Cheltenham, to Newbury. And there, last but definitely not least, very promising, 130 at the moment, Richard Dunwoody in the plate. He loves this course. He's run some blinding races here, and I expect him to put in a good show. I can envisage 3 of them being upsides at the last, and that is this fellow, Pearly Man, and Desert Orchid. But behind them, there may be Little Bay breathing down the neck and Townley Stone waiting to pounce. I think we've got the makings of a terrific race. Well, we've had everything, as Julian said. We've had snow, we've had sleet, we've had wind, we've had lovely sunshine, and there are some clouds ominously coming over the grandstand, but there behind us are some even worse ones that you can't see. Let's just hope that it stays away, because it's super days racing in prospect tomorrow, as we have today. But let's see the market.
And Pearly Man still the favourite, 13-8. Desert Orchid, 9-4. Very promising, 100-30. Townley Stone, 11-1. Little Bay, 22-1. And it's just gone to 20-1, that one. Little Bay now 20-1. Charcoal Wally 50-1. Captain Dawn on 100-1. And Malaysian Dancer 500-1.
There is that handsome grey horse, Desert Orchid, just going up to look at the first fence, and his jockey, Colin Brown.
Colin, Desert Orchid's in tremendous form this season, but he's never won left-handed. Why is that?
No, well, he's only run here 3 times, actually. He pulled up twice in the Champion Hurdle, but he did run very well last year in the Arkle, finished 3rd, and I don't think he was probably 100% on the day. I'm confident he'll go left-handed, and I think he'll go very close.
Have you tried him left-handed at home?
Yeah, we work him left-handed when he works, round a loop, and he does that well. He's a much more versatile horse this year, changes his legs more and uses himself a bit more, and he's in tremendous form. I'm very hopeful.
He's won over 3 miles, of course. He stays very well now, which we sometimes suspected that he wouldn't do. Could 2 miles be too sharp for him now?
4 runs ago, he won the Frogmore Chase by 12 lengths at Ascot, and we can switch him on if we want to.
Switch him on he will today as well. And the favourite is Pearly Man with the big white face. White seems to be much in evidence. There he is, handsome big brood, isn't he? And he's trained by John Edwards.
John, Perliman won very well at the meeting last year. Can he win this Champion Chase this time?
I think he will. He's very, very well. He's never been better in his life. He's jumping well. It's obviously going to be a very good race. 3 or 4 very, very good horses in the race, but I'm sure he'll do himself justice.
He seems a particularly fast horse.
He's a very, very fast horse. He's probably one of the fastest horses I've ever trained. Very, very fast indeed.
And he's jumping?
Jumping very well.
So, trainer very confident?
Yes, I am very confident. I'm sure he'll go very, very well.
It's a bold man that's confident in a race like this, I can tell you, because it is tremendous. So the other one, who appears to be the main threat, is very promising in the blue colours of Paul Green. He's trained by David Nicholson, who has already got off the mark for the meeting when he won yesterday. And I believe there's a change in betting. Yes, he's 33s from 50s, so few having a crack at that one at tempting odds. As I say, I don't think it's quite good enough for him, the ground. He does need it very fast, but looks like the action's underway. Let's join Peter.
And 12 fences to be jumped this time. Captain Dawn jumps off with Desert Orchid towards the left, Charcoal Wally towards the right. Very promising right up with them as they jump the first. Desert Orchid lands in the lead. They're all safely over it. It's Desert Orchid from Captain Dawn. Then comes Very Promising and Charcoal Wally, and behind them Townley Stone and Milesian Dancer and Pearly Man and Little Bay, the back marker of the 8 runners, and Captain Dawn almost up there now with Desert Orchid. Very Promising and Charcoal Wally next, ahead of Townley Stone and Pearly Man, Milesian Dancer and Little Bay. As they run to the 3rd fence, the winners of 82 races coming to the 3rd fence, with Captain Dawn on the far side nearest to us. The grey lands in the lead. Desert Orchid, Very Promising next, then Charcoal Wally, then Pearly Man, and then Townley Stone, Milesian Dancer and Little Bay all together. Desert Orchid from Captain Dawn, Very Promising and Charcoal Wally, then Townley Stone and Pearly Man and Milesian Dancer and Little Bay. That's the order in which they jump that one, with Desert Orchid taking him along, swinging left-handed. Captain Dawn on his inside. Very Promising 3rd, 4 is Charcoal Wally. 5, 6, 7 and 8 are Pearly Man, Townley Stone, Milesian Dancer and Little Bay as they jump the 5th safely, and coming to the water now. The ditches here are number 7 and 9. This is number 6. Desert Orchid lands in the lead from Captain Dawn and Very Promising. Charcoal Wally on the inside, Pearly Man, Milesian Dancer, Townley Stone, Little Bay just the back marker, the first of the ditches. And Little Bay followed up. Little Bay has gone at the first ditch. He's up all right. The winning most horse in the race he was when he set out. He's up all right. And over the 8th it was Desert Orchid from Captain Dawn, very promising, and Charco Wally, then Pearly Man and Townley Stone. Coming to the final ditch now, Milesian Dance is the back marker. This is 4 from home. The 2 greys now disputing it. And it's Desert Orchid and Charco Wally from Very Promising and Pearly Man. A beautiful jump in 4th place, goes up into 3rd now. Townley Stone comes next, and behind him is Captain Dawn, who's lost a lot of ground. And now it's Desert Orchid with 3 to jump. Charco Wally on his inside, then Very Promising, then Pearly Man going strongly in 4th, Townley Stone in 5, and the rest are virtually out of it now as they come down towards the next with Desert Orchid, Charco Wally, Very Promising between horses. On the far side, Townley Stone and Pearly Man still going strongly in behind them as they come down to the next. Desert Orchid lands 3 out in the lead from Very Promising. Pearly Man's improving between horses. Under pressure, Townley Stone over on the far side, coming down towards the second last now. And it's Desert Orchid in the lead from Very Promising. Pearly Man, Townley Stone, Desert Orchid from Very Promising. Pearly Man in 3rd. 4 is Townley Stone and 5 is Charco Wally. They're rounding the home turn now with just 1 fence to jump in the Queen Mother Champion Chase, and it's Very Promising who's taking it up from the white-faced Pearly Man. Pearly Man coming to take the lead at the final fence now. It's Pearly Man with the advantage of Very Promising on the far side. Pearly Man lands in the lead from Very Promising. Desert Orchid fighting back towards the near side. It's Pearly Man in the centre, Very Promising on the far side. Pearly Man and Very Promising. There's nothing between the two as they race up towards the line. Very Promising is fighting back. Pearly Man on the near side as they come to the line. It's going to be a photo. Pearly Man has just won it from Very Promising. Pearly Man the winner, Very Promising second. 3rd was Desert Orchid. 4th was Townley Stone, and then came Charco Wally. Behind Charco Wally was Milesian Dancer, who just beat, in fact, Captain Dawn for last place. And so the result of the Queen Mother Champion Chase, the letter P in the frame. A photo finish, a photo between number 9, Pearly Man, owned by Mrs. P. Shaw and Mr. W. Jenks, trained by John Edwards and written by Peter Scudamore, and number 11, Very Promising, owned by